Welcome friends, welcome back to the Ozark Mountains. We're at my cousin's cabin in the Ozarks, and today we're going to do a recipe from this cookbook published in 1927 in Cotton Plant, Arkansas. Figured since we're in Arkansas, we'll do some Arkansas recipes. Let's go inside and get cooking. So today's recipe book is called Recipes, compiled from recipes, contributed by the Women's Circle #1 of the Presbyterian Auxiliary and others. Cotton Plant, Arkansas, 1927. So this is a community cookbook, a church cookbook, heavily influenced by Knox Gelatin. Most of the advertising inside is for Knox Gelatin. There are a couple of other advertisements from Swansdown Flour and local businesses in Cotton Plant. Definitely a fundraiser. And the recipes come from people in the community. And there are a couple of names in here that you see over and over and over again. They must have been the real boosters of this book, making sure that it happened. Today we're going to do something called Mexican stew. Pretty simple. As you follow along, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be screaming and typing what they think it really is. So we're going to start out with, I've got here a couple of pounds of stewing beef already chopped up. To that, I'm supposed to add some flour. So we're supposed to toss the beef with about a half a cup of flour, I think it said. I should probably check that, make sure I'm doing the right thing. Half a cup of flour. So I think I've got about a half a cup of flour in there. We're going to toss the beef, coat it fully in the flour. Okay, so the beef is all tossed in the flour. Next up, we're going to start this pot. Okay, get that pot going. Okay, so the recipe says to use suet as the fat. Would go with the beef. You would want to use beef fat. There was no suet at the grocery store this morning in Hardy, Arkansas. So I've just got some cooking oil. We're going to put some cooking oil in the bottom of the pot. Heats up really quickly, and in goes the beef. Okay, in goes the beef, and we're just going to brown that off. Okay, the beef is looking pretty good. Next up, I'm supposed to add chili powder and 2 quarts of water. So I'm going to get some of the water in here. Start it with 2 cups. There is the last of the water. And then some chili powder. Put that in, and we'll cook that for a little while. If we need to add some more, we'll do that. At this point, the lid goes on, and this simmers until the beef is tender. Don't forget the salt. Now, here's one of the challenges. I am in an unfamiliar kitchen in my cousin's cabin, in the family cabin, far, far from home, just making do with what's here. This is the largest pot in the kitchen. It's not going to be large enough to do everything that we need to do. So I cut back on the water a little bit. I'm going to cut back on the potatoes and the onions a little bit just to make sure that I can get the whole thing to fit in the pot. Historically, this actually works. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the story of, someone whose mother or grandmother always cut the legs off the turkey, and, everyone in the family continues to cut the legs off on the turkey because that's the way mom did it. Turns out she didn't have a big enough roasting pan. This is the way that recipes evolve and change, and certainly the way that cooks actually do things. You're not always going to have the perfect pot, the perfect knife, the perfect cutting board, the perfect cooktop. You really have to work with what you've got. You have to think on your feet, and you have to be willing to make changes. And those little changes are really what drives food forward. Sometimes you make a change and you realize, this is so much better. So much better. So we're going to cut back a little bit on the onion and a little bit on the potato. Going to try to get it all to fit into the pot. It's going to be fine. It'll be just fine. It doesn't say how fine to chop the onion or to slice it, so I'm just going to chop it into cubes. That'll be really good. Okay, so I've got the onions chopped. I'm still probably way too many onions for that pot. Next up, it calls for potatoes. It doesn't say what kind of potato, just says potato. Here's the deal. Go to the grocery store this morning, small town, rural America, one kind of potato on the shelf. That's it. So that's the potato you use. And historically, that was probably the case. Although you wouldn't go to the grocery store. It would be whatever potato that you grew, whatever potato worked in the soil that you had on your farm or your neighbor's farm that you bartered for something, or you went down to the market, whatever was grown locally. People have very serious discussions over which potato you're supposed to use for this, that, or the other thing. Farther back you go into the past, a lot of the potato varieties that we have today didn't exist, and people weren't that particular about what kind of potato. They just used the potato that they had. Okay, I'm going to say this beef is cooked. There's still a lot of liquid here. The amount of flour in there didn't really thicken it all that much, but a lot of water has evaporated. I'm thinking that the potatoes are going to, as they cook, thicken the stew a little bit. So in goes the potatoes and the onion and the garlic. So put these in, and I'm supposed to let this simmer until the vegetables are cooked through, which shouldn't take too long, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. Got a couple of bowls here so Julie and I can taste it.
Hey friends, hey Glenn, you called me in?
Hey Jules.
Time for a tasting?
Time for a tasting, so here you go.
Thank you.
1927, Cotton Plant, Arkansas, Mexican stew.
Smells pretty good. Got all the standards for stew.
Yeah.
Got some onions and potatoes.
It's beef, onion, potato, water, a little bit of chili powder. There's really not much in it at all. So. I know there's chili powder in it because I put it in it, but there's not much at all.
No, it is just the basic flavors of the meat and the onion.
You could.
I would add some more flavor to it. I would beef up the flavor.
Yeah, definitely ramp up the flavor. It need a little more chili powder. It needs a little bit more salt than I put in. It needs an acid component. I would put in some acid, like a little bit of vinegar, just to kind of balance it out a little bit.
I'd say you can also, depending upon what you like, throw in other vegetables. I always add more vegetables, I know. But you could put in, turnip and beans and carrots and all sorts of root vegetables.
Yes, other things, but definitely needs more chili flavor.
It needs more flavor, a little bit more flavor.
More flavor overall. It's a great base.
That being said, I know a few people who would love it just like it is.
Yeah.
Because it's a little liquidy too.
I did cut back on everything. And I should have cut back on the liquid even more because it's still a little bit liquidy. The amount of flour that the recipe called for didn't thicken the liquid at all.
There's lots of ways to deal with that. So there's lots of easy fixes.
It's a good starting place. Definitely needs more flavor. But it is a look into what was going on in Cotton Plant, Arkansas in 1927. And Brett told me a funny story. Aunt Joan had a friend from Cotton Plant.
Okay.
Who was Miss Cotton Plant, Arkansas.
There you go.
Sometime in the 50s, I guess.
You never know who you know.
Never. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.